Good day, everyone. My name is Banky. I'm your tutor for biology, and I'll be taking you through biology question for senior secondary school. So it's going to be a very interesting one. Let's get started. Question 1. Which process allow prokaryotes to survive harsh conditions by forming a tough protective wall? To simplify this question is mainly talking about how prokaryotes, for example, bacteria, how they are being able to adapt to stress like heat, temperature, high temperature, lack of nutrients. So option A, budding, which is a form of asexual reproduction. So it doesn't have to do with survival mechanism. Option B, binary fission. Binary fission has to do with cell division, so it doesn't relate to survival mechanism. Option C, endospore formation. From the name, that's formation of endospore formation. That's formation of spores and is a major survival mechanism in bacteria. Option D, sporulation. Sporulation is also formation of spores, but is found in plants and fungi. So it's not really specific to prokaryotes, that's bacteria. So the correct answer for this question is endospore formation. So it's a specific survival mechanism for prokaryotes under harsh condition. Question 2. What enzyme is responsible for unzipping DNA strands during replication? If you are familiar with the structure of DNA, we know that DNA is a double-stranded helix. Like it's just like unwind, just for you to have an idea of what DNA looks like. And for replication, for DNA replication to take place, it has to like unwind. We have to separate these double-stranded helix to individual strands. DNA replication simply means you want to just think of you making a photocopy of a book. You want to have an exact copy of the original. So there are different enzymes that comes in place in this process of DNA replication. DNA ligase is like a glue for gluing, for like joining the DNA fragments. While DNA helicase, think of a scissors, is just like a scissors to cut the double-stranded DNA, strands. And DNA polymerase is involved in adding nucleotide, while RNA primase is an enzyme that synthesizes primers. So the correct answer for this question is the one that looks like a scissors, which is DNA helicase. Is an enzyme that is responsible for unzipping. Just imagine you zipping your clothes and zipping it down. Is an enzyme that is responsible for unwinding DNA strands during replication. Question 3. In humans, the gene for color blindness is found on the X chromosome. What is the probability that a colorblind father and a carrier mother will have a colorblind son? So it's already stated that the gene of color blindness is found on the X chromosome. For male, male are carrier of X and Y chromosome, while female are carrier of X chromosome. So the color blindness is found on the X chromosome. This is the father. So we want to do a bit of mathematics here. This is the mother. So the color blindness, let's have it see. What is the probability that a colorblind father and a carrier mother, the mother is a carrier, so we have one X carrier and another X normal. So if the father, when the mother and father comes together and they produce children, the father releases the X chromosome. Let's say the father releases the X chromosome and the mother releases another X chromosome. So this is for female, like for a female child. That means if the female can also be a carrier. So for a male child now, let's say the father releases a Y chromosome and the mother releases one of the X chromosome, let's say the carrier one. So the male can also have color blindness. That's for the male. So let's say the mother releases an X chromosome that is normal, and the father also releases Y. So this is no color blindness. So it's not actually like 100%. It's like a 50-50 thing. Is it that? And they are asking that what's the probability that a colorblind father and a carrier will have a colorblind son? So you can see it's a 50-50. Is it that they have a normal child without color blindness, or they have a male child with color blindness? So it's 50-50. The correct answer here is 50%. Question 4. Which hormone stimulates the conversion of glycogen to glucose in the liver? When you consume a bowl of rice, the rice needs to be broken down into glucose. That's the work of an hormone known as insulin for energy to be generated. But in a situation whereby you are fasting, the energy stored in the liver, let me say the glycogen, because what is stored in the liver is known as the glycogen. The glycogen that is stored in the liver needs to be converted to glucose to generate energy for the body. That's why when you are fasting, although you still have some level of energy to carry out one or two tasks. So that's the work of the glucagon. So insulin is the opposite of glucagon. Insulin breaks down glucose, while glucagon converts glycogen to glucose. So and the process is known as glycogenolysis, where glycogen is being broken down. So the correct answer here is glucagon. Question 5. What component of the plasma membrane is primarily responsible for controlling what enters and exits the cell? So the plasma membrane, the cell membrane, has different components. We have the protein, phospholipid, carbohydrates, which also have their specific roles. The protein is involved in transport of molecules, and carbohydrates helps in signaling in the cell membrane. So the phospholipid is a bilayer, as the hydrophilic and the hydrophobic bilayer, and this presents the entry and exit of substance into the cell. So the correct answer here is the phospholipid. Question 6. Which of the following is an example of a codominant trait in human? Option A says blood group AB, B height, C eye color, D skin tone. The correct answer here is blood group AB, because codominant trait has to be like equal genes. So we have blood group AB is an example of codominant traits, while the others may be involved with multiple genes. But the correct answer here is blood group AB. 7. The dark reaction of photosynthesis takes place in which of the following? The grana, the stroma, option C, thylakoid, and option D, mitochondria. Photosynthesis, is a means where plants produce their food in the presence of light. So we are talking about, and the reaction can be light independent and light dependent. So the light independent is also known as the Calvin cycle, is a dark reaction. It doesn't necessarily mean it takes place during the dark or at night, but it's just like light is not involved in the reaction directly, unlike light dependent reaction. So the grana is involved in light dependent reaction. The stroma is involved in Calvin cycle. And I told you that Calvin cycle is also known as the dark reaction of photosynthesis. Thylakoid is involved in light dependent reaction, while mitochondria does not really partake in photosynthesis, is involved in energy production. So the correct answer here is stroma. Question 8. What structure in the nephron is responsible for filtration of blood? If you are familiar with nephron, the function of kidney, you know that it filters waste from the blood, it removes waste from the body and passed out as urine. So the option A, Bowman capsule. Option B, loop of Henle. Option C, collecting dot. And D, ureter. The Bowman capsule is involved in filtration, and while the others, the loop of Henle, reabsorption of water, collecting dot takes urine to the pelvis, and ureter removes urine from the kidney, then passed out to the bladder. So the correct option for filtration of blood is the Bowman's capsule. Question 9. Which organelle is responsible for modifying and packaging protein? Option A, mitochondrion. You know, mitochondrion is powerhouse. Option B, nucleus, where genetic materials is being contained. Option C, Golgi apparatus. If you are familiar with the structure, it looks like a pancake. So option D, ribosome, is involved in protein synthesis. So the correct answer for this question is Golgi apparatus. Golgi apparatus is involved in modifying and packaging proteins. Question 10. In genetic terms, a dihybrid cross involves one trait with two alleles. B, two traits with two alleles each. C, one trait with multiple alleles. D, three traits at once. The correct answer here is two traits with two alleles each. If it's like dihybrid, it has to be with like two each. So two traits with two alleles is the correct answer for this question. Which of these diseases is not caused by virus? Option A, AIDS. AIDS is caused by human immunodeficiency virus. So it's a viral disease. B, tuberculosis is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So it's a bacterial disease, while the option C, influenza, is a viral disease. D, measles, is also caused by virus. So option B, tuberculosis, is the correct answer for this question. Which of this structure is unique to plant cell? If I'm sure you have an understanding of what a plant cell looks like. It's something like, you know, plant cell like this. So this is like the cell wall, and others include inside the nucleus and many others inside the cell wall. So which of this structure is unique to plant cell? Ribosome, option A. Option B, cell wall. Option C, mitochondrion. Option D, nucleus. I've explained and I've said the answer is cell wall. Cell wall is only unique to plant cell, while animal cell are cell membrane, while the others are present in animal cell. Which stage, question 13, which stage of mitosis is characterized by the alignment of chromosomes? along the cell's equator. Anaphase, option A. Option B, prophase. Option C, metaphase. And option D, telophase. So the correct option here is metaphase. If you're familiar with the stages, these are the stages involved in mitosis. So the metaphase is like the middle. It's as the it's just located at the equator. It's something like this, as so is located, is like the middle, is aligned at the middle. So is the correct answer to this question, metaphase. Question 14. The primary function of white blood cell is to A. Carry oxygen, B. Form blood clots, C. Fight infections, and D. Regulate temperature. White blood cell is part of the immune system. So the main function is white blood cell is triggered when there's an infection. So it fights. So the correct answer to this question is fight infection. Carry oxygen is done by the red blood cell. The platelet formation, that's the platelets is involved in forming blood clots. So fight infection is the correct answer to this question. Question 15. Which of the following best explains antibiotic resistance? What is the resistance? Like ability to resist. So in this scenario, antibiotic resistance means when a bacteria has been involved, is no longer responding to a treatment. So the treatment is not inhibiting its growth, inhibiting its survival, reproduction, or killing the bacteria. So that's just the simple thing. So option A, virus mutates in response to treatment. Antibiotics attack human cells. Option C, bacteria evolve through natural selection. Option D, all pathogens can be killed by antibiotics. So the correct answer to this question is bacteria evolve through natural selection. Question 16. What term describes the genetic makeup of an organism? Genotype. From the first few words there, gene, genotype. Genotype contains the genetic makeup of an organism, while the phenotype is what you observe, observable traits. Then trait is like a specific characteristics, and allele is different forms of gene. So the correct answer to this question is genotype. Genotype is the genetic makeup of an organism. Question 17. The part of brain responsible for coordination and balance is A. Cerebrum, B. Cerebellum, D. Medulla, and D. Hypothalamus. So the correct answer to this question is cerebellum. Cerebellum is responsible for coordination and balance, while cerebrum is involved in cognitive, like thinking, and C, medulla oblongata, is involved in involuntary action like breathing. So the correct answer to this question is cerebellum. Question 18. Which molecule contains the instruction for building protein? So which molecule contains the instruction for building protein? The correct answer is option A, RNA, option B, ATP, option C, DNA, option D, glucose. The correct answer to this question is DNA. Why? Because it has this flow. DNA contains the instruction. So DNA to RNA and to protein. So this just carry, but the instruction is contained. DNA sends the instruction. The instruction is contained in DNA. So the correct answer to this question, DNA, option C. Question 19. The vascular tissue responsible for transporting water in plants is A. The phloem, B. Cambium, C. Xylem, D. Chloroplast. The correct answer to this question is xylem. Xylem is responsible for transporting water in plants. So that's the correct answer to the question. Chloroplast is involved in photosynthesis. Phloem is responsible in transporting food. So xylem is the correct answer to this question. Option C to this question. Question 20. An organism that feeds only on plants is classified as A. Carnivore. Carnivore feeds on animals. B. Herbivore, like herbs, feeds on plants. C. Omnivore. Omnivore are organisms that feeds both on plants and animals. And D. Decomposer, they feeds on dead organic matters. So the correct answer to this question is herbivore. That's option B. Question 21. Which organ controls blood sugar level by releasing hormones? The option A, liver. Option B, pancreas. Option C, kidney. Option D, thyroid. The correct answer to this question is pancreas. Pancreas contains insulin, contains glucagon. So it contains the hormones responsible for controlling blood sugar level in the body. Question 22. The semi-permeable nature of cell membrane is due to option A, carbohydrates, B, enzymes, C, protein channels, D, lipid bilayer. The semi-permeable nature, that means it controls what enters and exits the cell. So it's lipid bilayer. It has the hydrophilic and the hydrophobic parts. So it's semi-permeable. Makes the cell membrane to be semi-permeable in nature. So it's lipid bilayer. Option D is the correct answer. Question 23. What is the function of the mitochondria in eukaryotic cell? It's something that you know is involved in ATP production. So option A, protein synthesis, no. Option B, energy production. Option C, cell division. Option D, DNA replication. So energy production, option B is the correct answer to the question. Which molecule carries amino acid to the ribosome? Messenger RNA, that's mRNA. Transfer RNA, that's the tRNA, option B. C, DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. D, rRNA, that's the ribosome RNA. So the correct answer to this question is tRNA, transfer RNA, is responsible for carrying amino acid to the ribosome. Option B is the correct answer. Question 25. Which process leads to the formation of gametes? Option A, mitosis. Option B, meiosis. Option C, fertilization. Option D, division. So the correct answer to this question is meiosis. Meiosis is involved in formation of gametes, that's the sperm cell and the egg cell. That's the correct answer. While mitosis is also involved in cell division, but somatic cell is involved, which is not necessarily involved in formation of gametes. But the correct answer to this question is meiosis. 26. Question 26. A mutation that results in a premature stop codon is called A, silent mutation, B, nonsense mutation, C, missense mutation, D, frame shift mutation. Mutation means there's an alteration in the gene, so which has kind of affects the organism. There's a change in the amino sequence in the gene. So the correct answer to this question is nonsense mutation. Is it results in a premature stop codon. That's nucleotide that just halts the process. So it involves in premature stop codon. The correct answer to this question is nonsense mutation. Question 27. The term autotroph refers to organism that auto means self. They produce their own food. So refers to organisms that rely on others for food, consume only animals, make their own food, decompose organic matter. The correct answer to this question is make their own food. Autotroph manufacture their own food. For example, plants. Question 28. During respiration, the most energy is released during glycolysis, option A, B, Krebs cycle, C, electron transport chain, then D, fermentation. The correct answer to this question is electron transport chain. Why? Because the other metabolic pathways, they release a lower energy compared to electron transport chain. So the electron transport chain is the correct answer to this question, option C. Question 29. Which parts of the plant is most involved in gas exchange? Option A, xylem. Option B, stomata. Option C, phloem. Option D, cuticle. The correct answer is stomata. It has like a tiny spot, is mainly under the leaf. It has a tiny spot where air can be released, so it's involved in gas exchange, while the others, option A, xylem, is involved in transport, water transport, phloem, fluid transport, and B, stomata. Option B, stomata, is the correct answer. Which structure connects the fetus to the placenta? A, fallopian tube. B, amniotic sac. C, umbilical cord. D, cervix. The correct answer is umbilical cord. So this connects the fetus and the mother, and is connected to the placenta, where nutrients is passed from the mother to the fetus, and waste is being passed from the fetus to the mother to dispose. So the correct answer to this question is umbilical cord, option C. Question 31. Which human organ system is responsible for producing hormones? Option A, nervous system. Option B, circulatory system. Option C, endocrine system. Option D, immune system. The correct answer to this question is endocrine system. It is mainly involved in hormone production, while circulatory system is involved in respiration, and nervous system is involved in nerves, and immune system is involved in fighting infection. So option C, endocrine system, is the correct answer to this question. Question 32. A zygote is formed by the union of option A, 2 embryos, option B, 2 zygotes, option C, a gamete and a somatic cell, option D, a sperm and an egg. So option D is the correct answer to this question. A sperm and an egg, that sperm from male and an egg from female, is responsible in gamete formation. Question 33. Which molecule is directly responsible for catalyzing reaction in cell. So the word catalyzing means to speed up, to enhance reactions. Option A, lipids. Lipid is not involved in catalyzing, speeding up reaction. It serves as fat and oil. It's fat and oil that serves as an insulator for the body. Enzymes. Enzyme is involved in speeding up cell reactions. Hormones, option C, and D, sugar. So the correct answer to this question is enzyme. Enzyme is involved in catalyzing cell reaction. Question 34. Which plant hormone is responsible for phototropism? So option A, cytokinin. Option B, gibberellin. Option C, ethylene. Option D, auxin. Auxin is involved in phototropism. That means is involved in directing plants towards sun, towards light, to be able to gain light. So the hormone that is responsible is auxin, while cytokinin is involved in reproduction. Gibberellin is involved in stem elongation. Ethylene is involved in fruit ripening. So the correct answer is auxin. Question option D. Question 35. The process of programmed cell death is known as A, mitosis. Mitosis is involved in cell division. Apoptosis is known as automatic cell death. So programmed cell death is apoptosis, while lysis has to do with cell bursting. Mutation has to do with a change in DNA sequence. So the correct answer to this question is apoptosis, is known as programmed cell death. Question 36. In a food web, secondary consumers are typically option A, herbivores, option B, top predators, option C, omnivores, option D, primary carnivores. The correct answer is the primary carnivores. They are secondary consumers. They feed on herbivores, so they don't really feed directly on food, just like herbivores that feed directly on plants. For example, you have grass, then grasshopper feeds on grass. Then you have maybe a frog feeding on grasshopper. So they are known as secondary consumers. So the correct answer to this question is primary carnivores, option D. Question 37. Which molecule is a byproduct of anaerobic respiration in muscles? Option A, oxygen. Anaerobic means absence of oxygen. So oxygen does not fit in to this question. Option B, ethanol. Option C, lactic acid. Option D, glucose. So the correct answer to this question is lactic acid. Is a byproduct of anaerobic respiration in the muscle, while glucose is like just the building material, while the lactic acid is the byproduct. Question 38. Which process converts atmospheric nitrogen into a usable form for plants? A, photosynthesis, that's manufacture of food in the presence of sunlight. B, respiration. C, nitrogen fixation. D, fermentation. So the correct answer is nitrogen fixation. Is a pathway in plants that is involved in converting atmospheric nitrogen to what is usable for plants. So nitrogen fixation, option C, is the correct answer. Question 39. Which part of the brain controls involuntary actions like breathing? So option A, cerebrum, is involved in cognitive thinking. Option B, cerebellum. Option C, medulla oblongata. Option D, pons. The correct answer to this question is medulla oblongata. Is involved in involuntary action. That's what the body does automatically, such as breathing, um, sometimes blinking of eyes. So that's the correct answer to this question. Option C, medulla oblongata, is involved in controlling involuntary action like responses, sneezing, coughing. So medulla oblongata is the correct answer. Option C. Question 40. Which of these best describe homeostasis? The meaning of homeostasis means to maintain equilibrium, to maintain balance in a body system. So the option A, the breakdown of food in the body. So it doesn't have to do with balance. Option B, the body's ability to maintain stable internal conditions. Option C, the creation of new organism. And option D, the process of evolution. So option B is the correct answer. Is the body's ability to maintain a stable internal condition, so attain equilibrium. So that's the meaning of homeostasis. That best describes homeostasis. Option B is the correct answer to the question. Now we have come to the end of this biology question. I'm sure you enjoyed the class and it was interesting. So make sure you subscribe and share with your friends.
Hi, I'm sure you enjoyed the video you've just watched. To see more of this kind of content across all examinations, including WAEC, JAMB, UTME, GAOKAO, NET, SAT, IELT, literally up to 100 exams, make sure you hit the subscribe button and check the channels for all of these videos and tutorials.